Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Dirt Bags and Pinstripes. Joined as always by David Swor. I'm D.J Cocks. And we got a guy tonight, David. This is something I've been looking forward to. Dean Chambers, welcome to the show, buddy. It's good to have you, man.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Dean is a Braves fan, so we're going to get a lot of perspective on the Braves here coming up and later on in the show. We're going to talk about them as well. We got a lot to get to. This has been a couple weeks since we've had a show, so there's some stuff we got to catch up on and run through here as we go into a lot of different directions tonight, David. There's a lot of things going on, but let me tell you, I'm excited for this episode because all the stuff that we got to talk about, I'm pretty sure we're going to have a lot of fun going through these, and I'm sure we're going to fight a little bit, which is always fun. So that makes me really happy. But David, man, we got to start in the AL East. We got to go from there, man. And you got to start with your Yankees, man. You got to kind of walk me through what in the world is going on with the Yankees.
Can we just talk about the Yankees through June the 30th? Do we have to go any further than that? Guys, the Yankees are a complete disaster right now. They're in 100% meltdown mode. I think they're 20-26 since July the 1st. 8-16 since the All-Star break, and probably as of tonight, 2-11 since the trade deadline. So it's so crazy. So there for a while, the Yankees pitching just collapsed. Clay Holmes lost it in the bullpen. Michael King, their second best reliever, went down. Of course, they lost Chad Green early in the season. Jonathan Loizaga has been out a lot of the season, but just all the way around, Garrett Cole suddenly was just really mediocre. The pitching just kind of went south. Well, the pitching started getting right, and now the hitting started going south. And really that started with Giancarlo Stanton going on the disabled list a few weeks ago. And apparently he has plantar fasciitis, I believe is what it's called. And that's something that kind of lingers around. Their trade deadline pickups, I agreed with every one of them except for one. We'll get to that in just a second, but I love the fact that they traded Gallo, lost in New York. He'll probably do great for the Dodgers or whoever else he plays for later on, but couldn't hack New York. And we got Dean's old friend, Benintendi. I was super excited. Contact first guy, plays good defense. Last I looked, he was hitting 192 since that trade. So that hasn't worked out. They traded their entire AAA depth for Frankie Montas and Frost from the Cubs. And now that's looking really stupid because the Yankees traded Jordan Montgomery for Harrison Bader. I have no idea what they were thinking. Supposedly there was another trade that was supposed to go down as well. Jordan Montgomery's pitched 10 shutout innings or 11 shutout innings since he left the Yankees. And Harrison Bader is still hurt on the DL. So Aaron Hicks is a mess. He was 2 for his last 44, I think, after last night. Statistically, they say he's the worst player in baseball if you include defense, base running, and all that in there. He's hitting the most bases loaded double plays. He's hitting 173 with runners in scoring position. That's our center fielder. Josh Donaldson, aside from being an idiot, he suddenly can't catch up to fastballs. And I think he's hitting about 220 with 10 homers. They're just a disaster right now. And that's just the best way I can say it. LeMahieu's hurt. They cannot score runs. I was watching the game a minute ago. They were losing 3-1. They lost last night. Similar score. I think it was maybe 2-0, 3-0. I don't remember. They just can't score runs. So, guys, the Yankees are a complete disaster right now. But so are the Rays and so are the Blue Jays. So somehow the Yankees are still 10 games up in spite of losing all these games. Of course, they got to play the Rays and the Blue Jays this week. So obviously they're probably going to lose some ground, but it's a rough time right now to be a Yankee fan. I'm going to be honest. This is the most discouraged as a Yankee fan I can ever remember being because literally there's no hope in sight. I'm serious. There's no waiver claims that they can make. There's nobody in the minor leagues that can potentially help them. So this is the team. You know what I mean? It's not like the old days where you can make those after the trade deadline trades. Those days are over. So this is what we got. So hopefully they'll turn it on.
So 2010, 2011, 2012, 2013, 14, 15, all that wasn't discouraging for you.
And it was discouraging, but like try watching a team that's like 14 games up or whatever that just all of a sudden can't do anything right. They won a section of 7 games where they blew 5 saves. Our closer had like a .72 ERA, going into that, something ridiculous. And they blew 5 straight saves. It's like I said, it's just like, hey, let's find a way to lose. And the starting pitching will suck. And then, the starting pitching will get turned around and now we can't hit. I mean, did y'all see the base running gaffes they had last week? I can't remember who they were playing. Like 3 in a row. The Yankees have went 7 straight 10th innings. Or extra innings, I should say, not just 10th innings, 7 straight and not scored a run. When there's a runner on second, bunt the guy over and hit a fly ball. I mean, what are we doing?
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. They're discouraging.
Aaron Hicks has heard the boo birds, which is tough because when you start hearing them in New York, you're in trouble. And he's definitely been getting those. I guess the one bright spot has obviously been Judge, man, and he's been on fire.
Yeah.
This entire season. He's carrying the offense right now, still hitting well, 46 bombs, still on pace to pass Roger Maris for the AL home run record of 61. Talk about Judge for a second, man, because he deserves it.
Yeah. Unreal, man. I mean, it's just unreal. Contract season, honestly, I thought it was stupid that he turned that money down, but man, he's proven everybody wrong. He's unbelievable. And not only that, he's their best shot at center field. Which is kind of crazy. A 6'7", 270-pound center fielder or whatever it is he weighs. I mean, he's a monster. There's going to be a documentary someday to go along with Donnie Baseball and Jeter about Judge. You watch and see. He's just got a great personality. He seems like, honestly, a great person, a great leader, and he's going to be the next Yankee captain. So,
man, we were talking, me and you, last week on the show about how with all that offense that they had, who was going to be the guys that were going to sit. And with LeMahieu hurt and Hicks struggling like he is, those things always seem to work themselves out, don't they, David? It's amazing how that works. You feel like you have 11 bats who should start every night, and then in a week later, you see it starts to just injuries or somebody just falls off, and it sort of takes care of itself because the manager's like, what am I going to do? And then the lineup kind of makes itself, man. That's what happens a lot of times. That's what happened to the Dodgers rotation, as we'll talk about later on. But the same kind of thing happened to them. But the Yankees offense was just rolling for so long. Here's the thing, David, they're 72-45. And we're talking about how bad they are right now. And that's a shame. And it goes to also show you what a jump that they had on this division to begin the season, which was just absolutely unbelievable that they were.
I'll tell you something hilarious. You guys will appreciate this. So I saw a thing on Twitter the other day, and it said the Yankees are playing, everybody's playing checkers and the Yankees are playing chess. So remember, they had that first spot forever, and Houston took it over, which means now Houston's either going to have to play, if the playoffs were today, they would either have to play Toronto or I believe the Rays, and the Yankees get to play their old friend Minnesota. So possibly. So anyway, I thought that was funny. That's obviously not true, but a guy can hope anyway, right? I don't want to play Toronto at all.
No, you don't want Toronto. That's a tough one. Although Toronto is struggling mightily right now, but you don't want to face that offense in the playoff game. I totally agree with that 100%, man. But yeah, man, they're 2-8 in their last 10, man. That's a problem for them right now. They are struggling mightily. But like you said, the rest of the division's been struggling. So it's kind of kept them towards the top there. They still are the second team in the AL, which is awesome. They've had a really great year, but they're kind of starting to get tested a little bit. And things tend to balance themselves out, man. They're on pace for a lot of wins. And as long as they can stay healthy and put some things together here, they're going to get some pieces back and some things may fall into place for them. I sure hope it doesn't happen. I know Dean hopes it doesn't happen either, but Dean, you have a lot of love for the Yankees, don't you, bud?
I hate the Yankees.
Dean chose to be a Red Sox fan. During the best time to be a Red Sox fan.
So I went through a little dark time when I was discouraged with the Braves and I was up there with you guys, and plus I was just wanting to mess with you all the time with it. That's really what I was trying to do. Because I mean, Yankees fans mess with them, go with the rivals. Came back down south,
You picked a good time to jump back on with the Braves too, man. They're tough.
Just identity crisis, you know?
So sticking with the Yankees theme, man, there's been a couple documentaries that have came out recently. One of them on Jeter, which we will get to in a future episode, and one on Don Mattingly that was very interesting, guys. And I kind of want to talk about Mattingly for a minute here. So I know all you guys got a shot to check this thing out here recently. Don Mattingly, when we were kids and we were watching baseball to start with in the mid 80s, and that time that we started watching baseball, Don Mattingly was pretty much the best player in the American League. He was the man. He was the face of the Yankees. He was the captain. He was everything, man. So, David, talk a little bit about the early years of Don Mattingly.
Yeah, man, unbelievable. You could definitely make a case those first 4 or 5 years. You know, he was the best player in baseball. You know, he was in New York. You know, which obviously comes with some good and some bad, but it made him famous. But man, I mean, 330 hitter, a year or two there. I think he won a batting title in there, if I'm not mistaken. Gold Glove defender. And man, he was definitely my favorite player growing up. I know we're going to get into later years later, but you know, just came up a little bit short of getting to be on a dynasty team. And man, I'm a huge Mattingly fan, always have been.
So these core years, Dean, 1984, when he kind of popped out there, his first full year, he wins the batting title with a 343, 23 bombs, 110 ribbies. He goes on the next season to drive in 145 runs, batting 324. 145 was the only time he led the majors in RBI. He goes on in 1986, 31, 113 with a 352 average. 87, he goes 30 bombs, 115, 327. And then 18 bombs, 88 ribbies, 311, and 89, or 88, I'm sorry. And then 89, he goes 23, 113, 303. An absolute domination from 84 until 89. He dominated the league. And then the 90s came. And the story turns, man. And to be honest with you, I always knew he fell off. But when you watch the documentary, you kind of see how much he actually fell off there. So, Dean, talk a little bit about the downward slope of what happened to him there.
Yeah, what I liked was, well, first of all, I liked the batting title between him and Dave Winfield, and it was just back and forth. That was incredible. That's one thing I did not really know about, probably because I was a little too young. But what I liked about what was interesting to me was the guy was dominating. Then he, from what I understand, worked his body a little too hard, kind of overdid it, which, you know, is a pretty good analogy in life. Sometimes we can overdo things, and broke his body down, and seems like the torque off the bat was messing his back up. And once you mess that back up, man, it's hard to recover. But my personal opinion, had it not been for that, and had he could have stuck his career out just a couple years and gotten himself a World Series ring, I think he may have gotten in the world. He may have gotten him just the championship, may have gotten him in the World Hall of Fame. I don't know, but it was just right there on the fringe. I mean, probably one of the best players, never go to World Series.
David, what are your thoughts on his whole career?
I agree with Dean. Probably 2 more seasons by today's standards. He probably gets in 2 more good seasons. And, you know, it's funny because you look at the last part of his career and you say, man, Don Mattingly really went downhill, and he did. But on-base percentages last year, 341. In 94, it was 397. 93, 364. So he wasn't a complete chump. He was just kind of a change player. He wasn't that number 3 hitter that he was previously. And so, you know, I remember me and my dad, you know, would talk Yankee baseball back then. And, you know, my dad would talk about how he was washed up. And I'd say, no, he's not, man. I mean, he's still hitting 290. And he did. He just lost his power stroke. I would have loved to see him stick it out, because I still think he would have been a valuable player, but he just wasn't the same kind of player. I wish we had a first baseman right now that hit 291 and have a, you know, 364 on base percentage, you know, but like I said, it's easy to look at him in disappointment those last few years, but they weren't that bad.
It's
Led the
interesting.
league. Go ahead, Dean.
Oh, another thing I noticed was interesting. I did not know this either. Him and Buck Showalter played in the minors together.
Yeah.
I did not know that. And which, when it circled back around and he was his manager, it's interesting. That part of me was kind of interesting.
Yep, I caught that too. I was kind of blown away by that. You don't really you always think of Showalter as a manager. You forget he was a player. Yeah. So Mattingly led the league in hits twice in his career, doubles 3 times, over 200 hits 3 times in his career. And David, like you were saying though, going into the 90s, they're not chump numbers really, to be honest with you. He had 169 hits in 91, 184 in 92. 154, 113, and 132 to finish out his career. So those are not terrible numbers by any means. Like you said, he was hitting around 290, 300 for those years as well. I think the back problems obviously were killing him at the end there. And what else, David? What do you think?
I was just going to say, I didn't even know this, but I was looking at his stats. I mean, the guy walked more than he struck out for his career. I mean, what power hitter can you say never struck out more than, I'm just scanning down through here, 43 times in a season?
That's
That's
unreal.
crazy.
And
That
it's
is crazy.
too, in the late 80s, the guy who helped him get his swing even better was Lou Piniella. Had no clue.
Yeah.
Wow.
When it showed him how to adjust, I was like, I'm blown away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lou Piniella told him how to get that force from his legs and his hips into his swing a little bit more.
Yeah.
And it changed his swing completely, and he started becoming a home run hitter. That's another good point. Lou Piniella, of all guys, another guy he played with. And so, man, as the story goes along here, it's really sad. This is the part I kind of forgot, is that I had thought Mattingly retired a couple years before the 96 team, which obviously started the dynasty for the Yankees there, where they won the first title. And David, he was on the 95 team, and he just missed it. And he could have stayed around. Now, Tino obviously was on that team now. And so some guys were starting to become, into the mix here. I don't know if Tino got signed in 96 after Mattingly decided to retire or not. I can't remember. They traded for him. Okay. So Mattingly, could have stayed the first baseman. They didn't kick him out. He wanted to retire, go home and spend some time with his sons, which you can't really fault him for that. But the sad part of this, and the part you can tell hurts him a little bit, is he missed out on 96, David.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, it's kind of a heartbreaker, to be honest with you. And, he had a great series against the Mariners in the one they lost. And, the 94 season, the strike season, if you remember, the Yankees were in first place at that time.
Yeah.
And, Mattingly was having a good year. So who knows what would have happened that season. There's just a lot of what ifs there, but I wish he could have hung in there at least one more season.
So, guys, Dean, did you have anything to add on Mattingly?
It's a great special. I learned a lot, and it was kind of interesting too. It kind of tied into the first episode of the Jeter special, and it's kind of like one captain hands off to another captain. It was you didn't know that at that time, but one to the next in 95. It's just
It is, man. And so here's another thing too, David. I got out of this whole 95 season. So obviously baseball gets the black eye in 94. Okay. Yeah. And I forgot this part. When you watch this documentary, this is kind of a cool part too. You see that the 95 Yankees make the playoffs for the first time in Mattingly's career. They go up against the Mariners, who beat the Yankees and saved baseball in Seattle. They get the new field. They were going to leave. So the Mariners save themselves. The Yankees make the playoffs, start the dynasty. Then the Mariners go on to face the Indians, who I believe is the best team on paper to never win a World Series. The Indians knock the Mariners out, go on to the World Series to face the Braves, who win their only World Series in their lifetime up until last year. So 95 has a lot of crazy twists and a lot of different things that were really cool about that season, especially in the American League there with all the twists and turns. And this just put the Yankees right in there with it. And you hear the story of how the Yankees actually were bad for a long time, David. And you forget how bad they were from the time that you were starting to watch them up until you started becoming a teenager there in high school and started to see them take over in the dynasty. They were not a good franchise.
No, they were terrible. It was kind of like a comedy of errors. But what they say saved the Yankees is George got suspended. And Stick Michael built that farm system up, and the rest is history. We can name a lot of good prospects the Yankees traded away for veterans or whatever. And those few years that George was gone, they couldn't do that.
Just think back to 1994. If the strike hadn't happened, would it have been an Expo Yankee World Series?
Ooh, the Expos were awesome.
They were awesome.
It was so good.
Expo Yankee World Series. It was shaping up. It really was.
On a side note, I still love the Expos logo, even though I don't even really know what it is. I mean,
beautiful
what is that?
logo. It is an M. It's an M.
It's an M.
Yep,
Is
it's
it?
for Montreal. Yeah, it's outlined like an M.
I never knew what that was. It just looks so weird.
Yeah, it's
Montreal baseball, right?
Playing,
Yeah,
half the season in Montreal and half the season in Tampa. Weird.
yeah. Yeah, so that's a good point, man, for sure. The 94, 95, what another twist that we got to see there from the Yankees perspective. So David, then you got Tampa Bay behind you at 9 games. They're in second place. Getting Wander Franco back here pretty soon. So that's going to help them out a ton.
Needs to help David Swor's fantasy team out a ton since Tatis got suspended. I'll just throw that in there.
We're going to get into that.
Last week, didn't I?
What is it?
I beat you in 2 leagues last week.
Did you really?
I think I did. I think we were playing the same. We were playing like 2 leagues the same time. I think the last week or so.
Oh man.
I think I beat you.
Yeah, I was pretty pumped up. My
Which
Tampa League team is pretty stacked in the hitting category, and all year I've been thinking when I get Tatis back, it's going to be on. And literally, like they're getting ready to activate him and suspended. But anyway,
So Drew Rasmussen, guys, a couple days ago, goes 8 perfect innings. We have not seen a perfect game since who? Trivia question on the spot. Anybody know who threw the last perfect game in baseball?
hold on.
10 seconds on the clock. You can
What
think
team
about
is
it
it
for a
for?
second. The
wow.
Mariners.
The Mariners.
Really?
Yes,
year?
sir. Back in
Uh,
2012.
2012.
Whoa.
Perfect game.
It's been that long?
Has it really?
That's the last perfect game in MLB
A
history.
whole,
Yes, sir.
a whole decade.
King Felix.
You got it. King Felix. That a boy. Good job. I knew you'd come through.
Like 2012 was 10 years ago. Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy. I had
Almost
no
to the
idea.
day, actually. Almost to the day that Rasmussen pitched is exactly when King Felix had it a decade ago. So that's really cool. And Rasmussen he's 7-4 this year, guys. He's no joke. He's got a 2.80 ERA and 100 innings pitched. He's one of their top dogs, man. And he's going to be a big help for them moving forward. I'll be honest with you, that was one of the first times I've seen him pitch, and he's nasty, man. So the Rays got themselves a good one there. If he can keep going there, they get Wander back. They're +1 in a wild card right now, so they are in the playoff mix. 6-4 on the week, so not a bad week at all for the Rays. They were one of the good teams actually in the division this week. Now the Blue Jays, David, were 2-8 in their last 10. What is going on with the Blue Jays, man? I don't know what is going on with the Blue Jays.
I have no idea. If you guys thought that maybe there was like a chemistry issue or something with the Blue Jays, why have they not put it together? I can't figure it out because they've got some star pieces, but it just seems like it just won't mesh, and I can't figure out why.
Every year can be like 1993, man. I tell you.
That's a good one. That's a 92, 93 teams were unbelievable, man.
Yeah, that's about it. That's about
Yeah.
it.
Well, they just added Whit Merrifield, and that I'll tell you this, David. The more I see Kevin Biggio play, I don't know what they're gonna do with him. He's over there in right field the other day.
That
I
ship
saw
sails,
him.
DJ.
The ball that hit the line. How do you not catch? I don't know, man. Kevin. I don't know, man. Waving him goodbye. You kick
He
him to the
can't
curb.
hit. That ship sailed. Has Merrifield done anything with the Blue Jays? Because that was your big pickup.
Yeah, he's been okay. Nothing super special. I mean, they're all in a big slump right now. Vladdy's still doing what he does. But as a whole, man, the struggle is just bad right now for the Blue Jays. And I just think like that Ryu going down, man, is gonna hurt them in the end. I feel that I think that injury is gonna hurt them a lot more than we think there. And moving on to the Orioles, guys, a half a game out of a wild card. They have not made the playoffs since 2016, which I was surprised it's even been that recent, to be honest with you. I didn't really remember that it had been that recent. And so David and I kind of went back and forth on this, Dean, a little bit when the trade deadline happened. And Trey Mancini gets traded to the Astros, and they give the closer away to the Twins, and they get a bunch of prospects. And at the time, they were a game and a half out of a wild card. Now they're a half out of the wild card. What are the Orioles doing, Dean?
Seems like it didn't hurt them none. I'll tell you this. I've got down. They were right at 500 at the All-Star break, correct? They were like catching fire. And since the All-Star break, they're 14-9. One of the best records in the American League. To me, they are my dark horse for this season. I think they're going to go to the playoffs. I'm going to go out on a limb and predict that the whole AL East will be in the playoffs because it's such a tight. They're like better even to the Central and the West, looking at the wild card standings right now. Like I said, we still have August and September, but I'm going out on a limb there. I'm saying that. But the Orioles, if the Yankees keep doing what they're doing, the Blue Jays and the Rays, man, watch out for the Orioles. They're coming.
Listen,
All right, so
I'm gonna agree with everything, but the Red Sox aren't making the playoffs. It's not gonna happen.
So Dean, what about them trading Trey Mancini though? Why in the world would you do that?
I don't know. Depends on if the general manager wants to look forward, or I don't know.
It's because they're not going to win this year, DJ, and everybody knows it except for you.
When the Orioles have a chance to make the playoffs, you have to go for it.
You're
in the
playing
AL.
checkers. Their guys playing chess.
That's a
Playing
good
chess
point.
for what?
He's playing the long game.
Yeah, I hate it. I hate that. I hate what the Orioles did to their fan base. That was dumb. Boston's not even worth talking about. 5-5 on the week, 4 out of a wild card, 50, 59.
They have it just come off the DL and got me some. I mean, they got me some points. Who was that?
Vivaldi, probably.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
got me some points on Sunday, man.
Yeah,
Listen,
you
they come up
good.
I was like, man,
The Red Sox, I don't know what they're doing, man. Heim Bloom, they should have sold. They did a short sale, and then added Tommy Pham. They needed pitching. They didn't add any. I don't know. I don't know what the Red Sox are doing. If I'm a Red Sox fan, I'm kind of questioning Bloom here. They got one of the highest payrolls in the league, and they're in last place right now. At the trade deadline, you should have sold off your assets and started all over. They didn't. They should have traded Bogarts. There's like 12 shortstops available next year in free agency. I don't know what the Red Sox are doing.
I'll tell you what Chris Sale's not doing is pitching anytime soon because that guy's an idiot. He's riding a
He's
bicycle,
bad.
goes over the front of the bicycle and breaks his wrist. Who does that? What is wrong with people? Like, how are you putting yourself in a position to fall off your bike? How old are you? Who falls off a bike? And when they're
I saw since he signed that
not right.
contract, he's won like 5 games since he signed that contract or something like that. Complete bust.
absolute idiot. And you're right, David. What a turd, man. What a turd. And that ball hit his finger, broke it. He falls off a bike. He's out for the season. What a waste. I would drop him immediately. What an absolute waste of a major league player. He learned from the White Sox. I'll just leave it at that. So, guys, on to the AL Central. And David, I look back at our predictions for the AL Central because the Guardians are in first place. And now both of us had them finishing last this year.
Really?
What is going on with the Guardians in first place?
I have no explanation for it. Honestly, I probably couldn't name half their starting lineup. So I don't know.
But their manager knows how to get it done.
Yeah,
Good point. He
that
does.
is a good point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, 16-10 since the All-Star break. And they're in a doggone good race with the Twins and the White Sox right now.
Yeah.
Great race there.
Like I said, I don't know what to say. You can't really point at anything and say, man, the Indians are awesome at this or awesome at that. They're just good all the way around. They're just a good team, and they are. I mean, it's hard to argue, with their
If my
manager.
dark horse is the Orioles, my sleeper is the Guardians.
Ooh. See, the Twins and the White Sox are 2 back now of the Guardians, and both are 1.5 back in the wild card of all the AL East teams up there. So as bad as I hate to say this, guys, those White Sox are 60-56, but they got Dylan Cease versus Verlander tonight, which is a great game. They came back and won last night, down 2-0 in the eighth. What a great game for the White Sox. They much needed victory for them. But man, I'm just thinking like every time you turn around, somebody's getting hurt for them. Luis Robert just slid into second, messed his wrist up. They cannot stay healthy. It's been the problem for them all year long. And it seems like every day you got somebody else going down. And on paper, they're easily should be running away with this. They can't stay healthy. And when you can't stay healthy, you can't win, David.
I still think the Twins are going to make a big run here at the end. I really like the moves that they made. So I'd say watch out for the Twins. And I have no idea what happened to Tigers either. Let me just throw that out there. No, we're talking about
Detroit.
What is it?
They still have a team in Detroit.
Something. I mean, I thought with the moves that they made and the young players that they had, they were going to kind of make a run. But Torkelson's bombed. Javi Baez still stinks. Eduardo Rodriguez has been somewhere in an undisclosed location for the last 3 months or whatever. Wow. I don't know what they're doing. I don't know what happened.
Well, Al Avila, and I know you just brought up here, lost his job as GM, 22 years with the team, and it was time for him to go. 44 and 74. Somebody had to go, and it wasn't going to be Hinch, David. So I guess it was the time for the GM to go with the moves he's made. Has not worked, like you said. Riley Green has produced. He's been a stud out there in center field for the Tigers.
That's debatable. He's on my fantasy team. Pretty wishy-washy.
Yeah, I started out really hot. And this happens to most guys who get called up right away. They play like out of their minds good, and then they kind of just go back down a little bit.
I did notice that. That's true, because they come back down to earth. It's almost like they still feel like they're proving their spot on the roster. Yeah, I can see that.
I think these major league teams are really good at figuring out how to pitch you. That's what happens. They find that weakness, and those pitchers are good at finding it every time.
They study a lot of film. Yep.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. So the AL Central is very tight. That's a fun division right now. Throw the Royals and Tigers to the curb. But one thing last week that did happen really cool, David. I got a good shot to check out the Lou Whitaker ceremony, and his number one going on the brick of the Tigers, and that's, for a franchise that is that old, that's a big time praise for one of the players. And you've been a big advocate for Hall of Fame Lou Whitaker, David. So talk a little bit about Sweet Lou's career.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about you were a big Alan Trammell guy, and I've always said, how can you let Alan Trammell in and not let Lou Whitaker in? He's one of the best second basemen of the 80s, early 90s. Like I said, if you're going to let Trammell in, I don't know how Whitaker stays out.
Dean, what are your thoughts on Whitaker?
I think should go in. I agree. We agree with
that. And he was great on RBI baseball.
Yep.
He is phenomenal on RBI baseball. That's a very good point. He's got a 75 WAR, guys, which I don't know what that means, but I do know that is a Hall of Fame number for WAR. He's got it. He's got 2,400 career hits, 244 homers, over 1,000 ribbies. And guys, me and David have talked about this all the time. Dean is like, when you look at those numbers, if he was a first baseman, those are not Hall of Fame numbers. But since you're a second baseman and you played in the era where second basemen weren't expected to produce offensively, he produced offensively. He leads second baseman in every category in the 1980s decade. And he just blew everybody away in all the major categories hitting wise. And we know about his glove. You hit a ball up the middle, they're turning two every time. Those two, and you're done basically. So he's got a great case. I didn't go back and look at what his numbers were when he was on the ballot, how much love he got. Not much from what I remember. But regardless, that's a great honor. To have your number retired by a team is still one of the great things that can happen to you, just short of a Hall of Fame. And you wonder if he gets to a Veterans Committee later on, David, to take another look at him. Who knows, with some guys that got in this year that waited a long time too. Sweet Lou could be on track there to make the Hall of Fame sooner rather than later. So pretty cool.
Yep.
All right. AL West, guys. We have the Houston Astros, man. What a team this is. Dusty blew the game last night, pulling the starter out who was dominating in the 8th inning with 94 pitches, had let one guy on up 2-0, pulls him. Relief pitcher comes in and loses the game. I just wanted to throw that at you, David. Dusty completely blew it last night. I don't know.
Dean, Dusty Baker will be in the Hall of Fame as a manager. I'm not even going to talk to DJ about it. He's led multiple teams to the playoffs.
See the Giants, the Reds,
The
Cubs,
the Nationals.
the Astros.
It's going to be in the Hall of Fame, and the Cubs will forever regret getting rid of it.
Good call, Dean.
But you know what? The Astros, okay, I said that the Orioles are my dark horse, Guardians are my sleepers, but when it's all said and done in the AL, it's going to be the Astros back in the World Series. They're just too good.
I can't argue with you. The Yankees have played 64 innings and led 2 of them.
Yeah, they're there every year. And now it may come down to Houston and New York. You never know. But like I said, we still got a month and a half of baseball to play. So anything can happen,
That's right.
So the Astros are absolutely killing it, 75-42, 6-4 on the last 10. Have a 12-game lead on Seattle, who's a 1-up in the wild card. Mariners just got Julio Rodriguez back. Dean, talk about what you thought of Julio Rodriguez so far to start his career. What an amazing start he's had.
It's been pretty good.
It has.
Yep.
He's been really good, man. So top of the wild card of the Mariners, the Rangers, David, Chris Woodward just lost his job yesterday as manager, 52-63. Do you think it was too soon because they haven't got the pitching in yet to go with the offense? Do you think it was what they needed? What are your thoughts on that one?
Yeah, too soon. And maybe not too soon, but I hope they didn't think that just because they got Semien and Seager that they were going to suddenly be in the playoffs. I mean, the Rangers were horrible last year. Yeah. And, they've added a couple mediocre pitchers or whatever. Semien and Seager have underperformed for the most part. I mean, I'm not surprised. Are you guys surprised that the Rangers are where they are? I mean, they're not any worse than I thought they would be, and they're not any better than I thought they would be. It's just
down here in Hickory, we got a foreign team. We got a called the Crawdads, and they belong to the Rangers. Went to 2 games a couple weeks ago just to see Ronald Acuna's brother play for him. But after I watched those 2 games, I was like, the Rangers in the next 5 years are still going to be the same as they are now. Just watching their minor team.
I mean, like I said, I respected them for going after those players, and both of them are great players. But 2 guys. I mean, how many Rangers starter can you name? Very few, right? I mean, it's
John Gray's, Soso, and Perez, and
they just don't have anything. I mean, they just don't have anything. So too soon to fire Woodward, in my opinion.
The Angels are 51-65, still a joke. Hopefully Trout comes back. I mean,
did y'all see the base running play from last night from the Angels?
Nope.
All right, tie ball game. 2-2, I believe it is. Runner at third. Ball is hit sharply to second. They throw it, or maybe to first. They throw it home. They run the guy back towards third. He throws it to third. The dude breaks for home. Nobody there. Lose the ball game 3-2.
What?
That's a little league play, man. That's a little league.
I will tell you this about the Angels. At the start of the year, I really thought they were going to make a run this year.
So did DJ for the last 5 years.
It seemed like they had Madden. They had the right players. All of a sudden,
and they got some studs, man.
Hey, you bought the Kool-Aid too this year, David. You picked them to win the division. I have it on tape.
Oh.
So
DJ literally picked them last year when you could not name when Andrew Heaney was their number 1 starter. DJ picked them. This was the year though. They got Iglesias and they got Thor. I can't remember who all else they added, but man, it just hasn't come together. I really think, I'll be honest with you guys, I think firing a manager in the middle of the season is overrated because they went from Joe Madden, who's a pretty smart guy, we know that,
Oh, yeah.
Phil Nevin, who is a certified moron. I can attest to that. He was on the Yankees bench coach. He was one of the Yankees bench coach last year. I mean, how could you ever think that that was going to be an upgrade?
Certified moron. I like that one. We should hand those out more often. We should give certificates to people who are morons because this world is full of them. Let me tell you.
Yes. I mean, when your third base coach is trying to fight the dugout, the opposing team's dugout, you're a certified moron. That happened more than once last year.
You got to patent that one. Get a T-shirt. Certified moron. You need to get it. It's a good stuff, man. I love it. So the A's guys are 41-75. The only thing I wanted to bring up about them, Shea Langoliers, their number one prospect, the catcher, just got called up. Sneak him into your fantasy lineup, Dean, so you can beat David. There you go. He picked him up right now. The guy's a stud. He's been their number one prospect.
Good luck spelling Langoliers. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, good luck with that. Put L-A-N-G in and then whatever. So I think we need to learn how to pronounce that one too. I don't know. Langoliers.
Hey, on a Temple League, I'm down there with you down the bottom. So I mean, I'm like, I'm going to be lucky to get into the playoffs, but I'm like right there at 7th. But like you and I are down there at the bottom. David's having an awesome season up there.
I need to join a fantasy NASCAR league or something I know nothing about, and then I'd probably win it. So I don't know. All right, to the National League, guys. Man, oh man, this has been there's been a lot of craziness here as well. I'm gonna start with the National League Central, guys. So I'll start with my Cubbies. Okay, there's a few things I want to talk about here. Fran Reyes just got picked up. We have a problem with hitting the ball on the ground a lot with the Cubs team right now. I think it was a great pickup. He had close to 100 ribbies last year, and the Guardians kicked him to the curb, which is kind of surprising with them being in first place. I don't know what happened there. Just got rid of him. If any of you guys have any insight on that, let me know, because I just am kind of baffled by it, really, when a guy can hit the ball like that. I know he's having a rougher year, but in his first couple games for the Cubs, he, had a game-tying RBI in one of those games. He's been hitting the ball pretty solid. He's been in the lineup pretty much too, so for them as well. So they're basically at a tryout stage. Everybody's trying out for the team right now, and supposedly we're going to spend a lot of money this offseason. There's a ton of money coming off the books. Jason Hayward just got released, which, by the way, guys, is the worst contract in Chicago Cubs history by far. It's not even close. And they're paying him to go away. We'll give you $22 million next year. Just go away. We even watch you around. I'm not going to bash too much on Hayward. And the reason is because he was a part of the 16 team. So I got love for all those guys. Don't get me wrong. Okay. But he was 3 for 20 in the World Series. Okay. He didn't do anything there. His numbers are not good. Not even close for what the guy was making. A stud defensively. I'll give him that. He played really good defense for us. But never amounted to much of anything. So it was kind of a shame to see his career with the Cubs with all the expectations that we had for him. Just couldn't live up to it. Couldn't happen. And he's out, man. And so that was tough to see, but they just basically are, he's hurt right now. So he's not coming back this year. So his career is basically over with the Cubs. So to the Field of Dream game, guys. I wanted your thoughts on this real quick. So last year's game, let's just be honest, you can't top it. What happened in that Field of Dreams game last year?
Awesome.
When we watched it, it was perfect. It really was. So nothing's ever going to top that. So when you have another game like this, it's never going to be the same. But it was pretty cool. Still a fun game. No home runs in this game, which is kind of surprising. Cubs did jump up to a 3-0 lead right away and took the game, and they played really well. The young lefty for the Reds, whose name I didn't write down, it's the first time I saw him pitch, but he looked pretty good on the mound. I think the Reds got a pretty good lefty pitcher there. If you guys, I have a hard time thinking of his name right now, but pitched really well, solid in that game. Cubs did a good job. And then the 7th inning stretch came, David. I'm still traumatized by Harry Carey hologram that looked like he came out of the grave. He didn't look a thing like him.
I know. I tell you what happened was they kept saying there was going to be a special 7th inning stretch, and I saw Harry Carey. I was like, it's going to be Will Ferrell. He's going to be hello everybody. That's what I thought it was going to be.
That would have been great.
It was like a sharper looking Harry Carey. He was sober and he was not as sloppy.
His hair was actually made. That's what threw me off. It's like his hair had like a comb over. I'm like, what is this? That freaked me out.
I mean, he didn't even go back into the corn. He just popped up in the press box.
Well, let me give you this. Dean, have you been to the Field of Dreams before?
I always want to go. That's one of my bucket lists. I want to go so bad. One of my favorite movies. And
David, if you go next time to your sister's and you miss Minneapolis and go just a little bit south heading to me, you can hit that one too. So you've got some options on your way back. Cool. On your way back.
How close is it to you, DJ?
It's not far. It's right across the Iowa border. I think when we went like 2 or 3 years ago. I think it took us about 3 hours, 3.5 maybe. So it wasn't too bad.
So it's Chicago.
Yeah, straight west. It's the northern part of Iowa, so it wasn't a bad trip at all. And it is literally in the middle of nowhere. You're just driving along, and then boom, you're there, and you're like, "What is this?" And then it's really cool, man. So I definitely recommend it. They put on a good display. It was a lot of fun. It was cool that the Cubs were in it. They're taking a year off because I guess they're building a complex there for kids. They're going to make a lot of money off of kids coming in with their travel teams, I'm sure, and playing there.
They're going to ruin it, DJ.
They're going to ruin it.
Oh, they're going to ruin it.
I know.
There'll be hotels everywhere out there.
I know.
Ruin it.
That's what we do, man, because that's what Americans do.
Yep.
I could agree more.
I would love to go to that game out there one year, but did you see the ticket prices for that?
Yes.
Whoa. Man. I mean, you got to take a step back here. $1,000 a ticket to watch the 4th and 5th place team play each other.
Cornfield.
I'm like, really?
8,000 seats, which I like that about it too. I don't think it should be any more than that. It's got to be that small little feel to it. I hope they don't build onto that anymore than they would have. So that was awesome. I was really happy the Cubs won that game. It was probably the biggest highlight of our season, to be honest with you, which is very pathetic, but oh well. Anyway, moving on, guys. Real quick, Dwight Smith, former Cubs outfielder, passed away. Very sad. He was very young. He was born in 1963, so he was just, around 60 years old. So very sad to hear that. Had a awesome rookie season with the Cubs. If you guys remember, Jerome Walton winning Rookie of the Year. And then the next year, here comes Dwight Smith, and he got runner-up for Rookie of the Year. So here we got the outfield of the future with Jerome Walton and Dwight Smith, and they both just fell off the earth so fast. It's hard to believe how fast their careers just kind of derailed. Dwight Smith, to his credit, had an 8-year career. Ended up playing with the Braves there at the end of his career, Dean, and but he never really amounted to anything. He never got more than 35 ribbies in any season other than his rookie year, where he knocked in 52 and had a really solid 324 batting average as a rookie. Everything kind of went down from there. Was still a pretty good hitter. Hit 275 for his career, but never really amounted to the expectations we had for him when we were young and Cubs fans. So very, very sad to see him pass away. Your thoughts real quick, David?
Yeah, I remember Dwight Smith and Jerome Walton, like you were saying. I think that's back in the WGN days. You could watch some games in the afternoon. So definitely got to see those guys play. Yeah. And I remember him with the Braves as well. Part of some big playoff runs there. So very sad.
Dean, he ended his career at the Braves. Talk about him a little bit.
Well, all I know, he just was in 95, won the World Series with them.
Good point. I forgot that little tidbit. He was on that team.
Yep, that's about it. He was on that team.
That's a good point.
He's giving it a little bit, but not really much of a factor, I don't think. But
he was kind of like a 4th or 5th outfielder type of guy, right? I mean, defensive replacement, pinch runner, that kind of thing.
We got a
147 games played. So I bet he was exactly what you said, David. Come in, pinch hit, base run, play defense. I mean, that gives him some credibility for sure. I mean, if you win a World Series and you contribute to that, that is awesome as well. So I think those are obviously the two highlights, the 95 season and the 89 season, where he was second up to Rookie of the Year, and it was also a very good Cubs team that lost to the Giants in the National League Championship that year as well. So Dwight Smith, rest in peace for sure, man. Very tough day to see that happen. So David, the Cardinals, talk about Busch Stadium. You went to the Yankees game when they were in town. Talk about what you thought.
So listen, it was way better than I thought it was going to be. I'm just going to be honest. Now, DJ's going to hate everything I'm about ready to say about this, okay? But I don't think you could beat the surrounding area of the stadium. The vibe that the Cardinals got. That place was, we wanted to go to batting practice and did go to batting practice. Leland ended up getting him a ball, which is pretty cool.
Nice.
That place was jam-packed. Those restaurants, you couldn't, I think the wait to get in there was like over an hour. And we're talking about 2 hours before the game. But have you guys been, I know you've been to Busch, DJ. Have you been there?
I have not.
Man, I mean, I really like not only the stadium, but more, I like what's around the stadium. Parking was great. We were able to get in and out of there really easy, even in a sold-out game. Something I didn't realize about the Cardinals, they have one of the best attendances in the league.
Yeah.
I mean, so
They
I
love it.
really, really liked the Cardinals. To be honest with you, kind of fell in love with a lot of things about them. And the Cardinals are fun to watch. They play great defense. They robbed the Yankees multiple times, from big hits, and swept us. I mean, it was a great series. All the games were close, but kind of put it on us. But I really liked their stadium, no joke. The vibe, the way, just everything about it. The concourse was nice. Very nice place.
Hot, very hot, right?
So yes, that is the bad news about Busch Stadium. Hot and humid. And it was actually a little under average temperature wise, but I remember standing up for the 7th inning stretch or whatever, and my back all the way down, to my legs was soaked. I mean, I was stuck to that chair. So very, very, very hot.
Wow.
That's the hottest I've ever been at a game in my life. Is
They
insane.
have cooling stations.
Yeah.
Free water.
They have to. Free
Let me
water,
tell you
yeah.
something else. I'm going to tell you something else I like about Busch Stadium. I'm going to throw this out there. I know we're running out of time here. It's probably the most family-friendly place I've ever watched a game. You can bring food and drinks into the stadium, which is there any other stadium you can do that? If there is, I don't know. If you want to bring a pizza and 2 liters into the game, you can. And I think that's amazing because it's so expensive to take a family to a game, just the tickets. Then you got to go pay $5 for a water, $8 for a hot dog. And before you know it, a family of 6 like us and like DJ, you've spent, hundreds of dollars to go watch a baseball game. Let me bring my food in. I think it was great.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, man, if it wasn't the Friday game, the Saturday game, one of those 2 games was the highest attended game.
It was Saturday.
Was
We
Saturday.
went to the Friday game. We tried to get tickets to the Saturday game beforehand. And man, the tickets like upper deck were $90. And so we chose the Friday game. Now you probably could have went for $8 to the Sunday game because it was like a 1 o'clock game. Reagan was like, man, after church, we can meet up and go. And I'm thinking, I don't really want to. It was too hot.
Guys, the Cardinals are coming, man. They are for real. I hate to say this. You guys know I hate the Cardinals very much. But man, they've taken over the Brewers. They're starting to run away a little bit. The Brewers, man, they're losing it. They're losing it, David.
They got me some good points in fantasy baseball, but
Josh Hader, man, that was a mistake. They immediately blew 2 saves like the very next week. That was a mistake. Now that's a different scenario from the Orioles. Okay, what the Orioles did, I think, was smart. What the Brewers did was stupid, and we saw it didn't work last year when the Mariners did it either. So, anyway,
what are your thoughts on that race, Dean?
Cardinals are 13-7 since the All-Star break. We all know Pujols is hanging it up after this year. Molina's old. Kind of a family reunion for some of these guys. They're wanting to finish out on top. my personal opinion, they're not going to make it all the way, but they'll be in the playoffs.
Dominating bullpen.
Yeah.
Dominating bullpen. Starting rotation,
How many
Dom-
times? How many times in history? How many times has the Cardinals been like, they're an all right team, and they wind up winning the World Series, or they're there at the end and they just come out of nowhere? How many times has that happened? I've seen it happen a lot with the Cardinals.
They're a weird team. Like they're not really. They got two really great hitters, in Arenado and Goldschmidt. Everybody else is just so. But they play terrific defense, adequate starting pitching, dominating bullpen. If they got the lead going into the sixth inning, you're probably cooked.
Yeah.
That's a good point, man. So Pujols hits 2 bombs in the game the other night, gets up to 689. Okay, and David knows that I have a love-hate relationship with Pujols. When Pujols is on the Cardinals, I hate him. When he's on the Angels and Dodgers, he's the greatest thing that's ever lived. So it's kind of a love-hate relationship right now. I don't really like him very much. But he's 7 home runs shy of A-Royd for 4th all-time. An 11 shy of 700. So I ask you guys this question, yes or no. If he ends this season with 697 and passes A-Royd and is 3 shy of 700, does he come back next year just to get 700? David?
I think he'll play as long as somebody signs him. I don't think he has any intention of quitting. So yeah, I think he'll be back.
Dean?
I think he will stay until he gets 700 and retires.
The man can hit lefties. Okay. And if you have a guy coming off the bench or can DH a little bit who can hit lefties like he can, he's still got a job. And the man destroys lefties. It'll be very interesting to see what he has here. The Cardinals obviously have a say in this, if they even want him back. That's the big thing, I think. But we'll see. He's got some milestones to chase here coming up.
What's so weird about him? He's our age, and he's like ancient in baseball years.
He's rookie year. We were in college.
I know, right?
That's crazy.
I know.
351 against lefties, DJ. I just looked it up.
Unbelievable against lefties. You're right. That's a great stat, man. Thanks for pulling that up. But it's truly amazing. And hey, if he comes back next year, now we're talking he could pass Babe Ruth. So this could get crazy if he gets close to 700 or at 700 this year. Why would you not come back and hit 15 bombs next year past Babe Ruth? You're not going to get Hank Aaron or Barry Bonds unless you somehow can crutch your way to 46, 47. But it's an interesting thought and something for him to think about, I guess.
Yeah.
So, David, one more note on the Hader trade, and we'll go on to the next division. Another thing that doesn't make sense to me is right away they dropped Dinelson Lamet from that trade, and he's a free agent right away, and the Rockies snatch him up. So what are the Brewers trying? I know the prospect that they're. What are they doing? Like, who are they trying to get out of that? It made no sense to me.
I have no idea. I mean, I think initially when they got Lamet, I kind of thought, well, man, they know something. You know how these teams do, man. They know how to figure out what these players do well, and I just expected them to throw him in the bullpen and let him air it out or something. That boggles my mind. I have no idea.
Still don't get it. NL West, the Dodgers are absolute just on a terror and killing it. They won at one point 13 in a row recently, are 9-1 in their last 10. 80-34. I'll say that again. 80-34 record, a 7.02 win percentage. Absolutely unreal. Did take a shot here by getting the news that Walker Buehler is done with the elbow. That definitely hurts him. But guys, I was talking to Nicole about this. When you've got a rotation with May coming back, you got Gonsolin, who's 14-1. You got Anderson, 13-2. Kershaw will be back soon. He's 7-3, started the All-Star game. And Urias was 13-6. You've got some studs there. And if they were going to have Buehler come back in the mix, you got those 6 guys. Like, who do you start? Who's the 3 guys you start in the playoffs that are going to get you through the first round until you got to go to 4? Out of those 6 guys, who would you pick, David?
Well, you know Kershaw's got to go.
Yeah.
Kershaw's in, and Gonsolin's 14-1. So there's 2 of them. You don't know what you're going to get out of May. You don't really know what you're going to get out of Bueller. So Urias would be my 3rd.
Not a bad pick, man. It's just so many different ways, and the things are starting to work themselves out. Bueller's out now. Who knows what May's going to end up, having to him. And Andrew Heaney, as we were just talking about him, he's 1-0, but he started 7 games for them, and he has a 1.16 ERA. So what he typically does is he'll pitch 4 innings and turn it over to the bullpen, because these other guys are just killing the innings. They're just innings eaters. But the Dodgers, man, they've got a plethora of pitching, but they did. Anytime you lose Walker Buehler, he's the man. So that's a tough blow to them, and definitely hurt them as well. So now on to a very somber, sad note. Unfortunately, we have to talk about this real quick with the Padres. 17 back of the Dodgers, so that is all over with. In a wild card spot, but now they have lost one of their best players, Dean, to an 80-game suspension, Fernando Tatis. Dean, what are your thoughts on this suspension?
My thoughts is this. He said that he didn't know what he was applying. He had ringworm or whatnot. But my thing is, you should know what you're applying to your body. And you know that any type of steroid detection in this day in baseball, after the era we just went through, you're going to get your butt suspended. So, like, to me, I personally think that's an excuse, because you should be knowing or if you know what you're putting on there, let MLB know. You know what I'm talking about? I don't know. That's just, that's my thoughts on that.
Yeah.
Good point.
I totally agree. In his defense,
Yeah.
I think if there is truth to the ringworm thing, there's got to be a little bit of like give here, right? I mean, it can't just be cut and dry. But to Dean's point, you're getting paid millions, hundreds of millions of dollars in his case to play baseball. You just got to know, man. You just got to know. You can't be surprised by it.
Mhm.
But I think there needs to be a little bit more research into that. It just can't be just so cut and dry. I mean, if he did have ringworm, if he really did have it, a doctor prescribed it to him. I don't know. It's a little bit. 80 games is a long time, and that's half of a season.
That doctor should be in communication with MLB to let them know that I prescribed this to him.
Yeah.
That would have cleared up some communication issues. To me, yeah, I don't know. It's just
I totally agree.
Yep.
What do you think, DJ?
So I've got a lot of thoughts on this.
Here.
Kind of funny actually is after he's suspended for the next 2 days, all you see is him in that Gatorade commercial. It's like too soon. It's like, this is guys. Here's the thing. This is one of the MLB wanted him to be the new face of baseball. They really did. Like, they wanted him to be the new guy to take over, to be the guy. And by all means, man, he could easily do it. Now he's in the Braun territory where he's going to get booed everywhere he goes. Everybody's going to hate him now. He's done it to himself. Here's the thing, man. Like Dean was saying, you've got all these guys who you have to check with when you're putting any type of medicine into your body. That's the number one thing. And all these MLB players tell you this. They're like, he's just stupid because we've got all the resources. We know that we can't put anything in our bodies like that without going to somebody. His dad was in the Mitchell report. Okay. Do I trust him at all? No, I have no trust for what he's saying. What is he getting ringworm for? Is he up there wrestling? What is he doing? Is he on the dirty mat? What do you do? The kid just fell off of a motorcycle twice. That was in his contract for him not to do in the first place. Now he's taking PEDs. I got zero remorse for the guy. He's an idiot, and he deserves everything he's getting with this suspension. And he deserves everything for the rest of his career for what he's putting into his body. I think it's just absolute excuse. I have no remorse. Guys, listen to this. There have been three players this year that have been suspended for PEDs. If you take a 40-man roster and times it by 30, I'm not a math major, but that's 1,200 guys. There's 1,200 guys in this league if you count the 40-man rosters. 3 have been suspended. One of them's Cano, and we know what an idiot he is. The other is Tatis, and I can't name the third. But what are you doing? you are doing something wrong for the MLB to bust who is the face of the franchise. You're not taking I don't buy a second of it. I'm sorry. I think it's all hogwash trash, and he's going to pay for it. And shame on him, because this team going and getting Soto, all that Preller did for this team, and he's once again letting them down and Padres fans down. And man, could that have been a really fun team to watch here. He was coming back probably in a week or two, and we're not going to be able to see it.
Yep, and it ruined my fantasy season.
It ruined my Chicago League fantasy one, because I had him stashed all year. I was going to do the same thing you did.
Kershaw being injured hurt my fantasy team on the Temple League.
Doggone it. I'm fired up now. That makes me so mad. You guys know how I feel about all that.
Mueller's injured. That's
3 guys, though. Guys, 3 out of 1,200. We know that this system is put into place. We know people are still doing it. They're not getting busted as much because some of them are just not as stupid because they know they're going to get busted. He made a huge mistake, and he's going to pay for it the rest of his career. He'll never make the Hall of Fame if it stays on track as guys. I mean, I don't know anymore with Ortiz, but whatever. I'm going down a rabbit hole. I'll stop. Giants are getting back into it a little bit. 5.5 back in the wild card. Game over 500. They're not out of it yet. So they're kind of creeping in there and sticking with it. So one more real quick. Will Clark, guys, number retired. I don't know if you saw the speech. Will Clark was a man back in our day, another 80s guy going into the 90s. What are your quick thoughts on Will Clark, David?
I meant to look up his similarity scores, but if you look at him, like 8 of the 10 are Hall of Famers. Yeah, I'm serious. Look him up sometime. I don't believe Will Clark is a Hall of Famer, but great player. He was a guy that you didn't want your team to face, kind of an imposing hitter. I was a big Will Clark fan.
Dean?
I kind of agree with David. Good numbers, just not Hall of Fame, but good guy, good player.
Yep, he did really well in his career. Made a lot of all-star teams. Toward the end of the 90s there, was one of the first, all-star game starter for 5 years in a row at first base. Just an absolute awesome player. Absolutely destroyed the 1989 Cubs. Made me cry as a young 9-year-old because he hit so many home runs and the Cubs were eliminated in the National League Championship Series. I thought I was going to see them go to the World Series as a young 9-year-old. Never happened. And the big reason is for Will Clark and all he did against the Cubs. But I do respect him, think he was an awesome player. And it was really cool to see him get honored because he did deserve that. He is, when you think of the Giants, like he's one of those guys that should be up there. So it makes total sense to me. Last but not least, the NL East. And this is Dean. This is your boys here. So the Braves, man, are coming a little bit as far as making this a little bit of an interesting race here with the Mets. They're still only 4.5 back. The Mets are 75 and 41. Dave is already shaking his head. The Braves are 71 and 46. Dean, talk about your boys, man.
Braves started off on a World Series hangover. I mean, they couldn't do nothing. Then they went on this tear in June. They went on this tear in July. But the problem is they're struggling against the Mets. Now, I say that, but they've completely dominated the Mets the last 2 nights. But over in the division, they're having a hard time with the Phillies. They're having a hard time with the Mets. The Phillies are still in it. They're not talking about much, but you're looking at the Mets are 17 and 6. The Braves are 15 and 8. Phillies are 15 and 8. All right. The Braves have got some good stuff coming out of Grissom and Harris, some of the young guys coming up. But now Morton had a good game tonight. I was just watching my phone there, but I'll tell you this, their pitching is going to be their Achilles heel at the end of the season because all roads of the World Series are going through LA again. And I mean, they pulled off the impossible last year, but when it comes to the Mets are good. They got Buck Showalter as a manager, but if anybody knows Buck Showalter, he can get him to the playoffs, but he's never got him to the big game.
Yeah, that's true.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Now, I don't know if history serves true with the Mets, but that's going to be a pretty good. And like I said, the Braves are a half a game out of first after All-Star game, but then they got killed by the Mets last week, and they moved down to 7 games out. They're back to 4 games out. It's going to be a doggone race to the end in the NL East. But once again, road to the World Series goes through LA.
I agree.
Yeah. So
Listen, I really believe in my heart, DJ, deep down, that the Mets are the only team that can take the Dodgers down. And I mean that sincerely. And I like the Braves. I've always, I was pulling for the Braves last year to win. But man, Scherzer and DeGrom.
yeah,
You
yeah,
got to beat Scherzer and DeGrom.
yeah.
I'm sorry, man. And then not only that, if you get to the ninth inning, you got to go against Edwin Diaz. So they got two of the best starting pitchers in the game. They've got probably the best closer in the game, and they've got a formidable lineup. If anybody can take down the Dodgers, it's the Mets, I'm telling you.
I think David wants a Subway series.
I would love it, but the Yankees aren't going to be in it, unfortunately. The Mets might be there, but Dean, I got to tell you, DJ has been dumping on the Mets for some reason. I mean, I think he had him like in fourth place or something. I don't remember exactly, but he just can't find anything good to say about the Mets.
I can't either. Never have.
It's time, man. They're gonna find a way to blow it again. I don't know. But you make a good point, Swor, and I thought about this too. Is even Bassett has been on fire this year. Chris Bassett's been solid, man. So
Yeah.
you got Scherzer and you got DeGrom, and you go Bassett. He's been killing it, and then you get Diaz at the end of the game. Man, that's pretty solid. And the Mets are definitely on fire. 8-2 in their last 10. The Braves are coming for them though, man, and they're looking good again.
Good. It's interesting.
And Marquise Grissom, son of all people, just comes out of nowhere and smashing, man. I love it.
I know, but once again, pitching is going to be the Achilles heel because sometimes they're on it, sometimes they're not. And I'll tell you this: I thought pitching was going to kick their rear end against the Dodgers last year in the NLCS, but it didn't. For some odd reason, they pulled through, and I was blown away. I really was.
Yep. And so, David, the Phillies are going to get Bryce Harper back soon. Will only be in the DH role. He can't throw anymore. He's going to have some surgery there to get some Tommy John. That's going to make him a DH for a little while there. And Washington Nationals note, Nelson Cruz got his 2,000th career hit. He hit a home run in the bottom of the 8th against the Cubs the other day that won the game for them to beat the Cubs. He's up to about 470 homers and 2,000 hits. Going to be a very interesting case for the Hall of Fame there from Nelson Cruz, guys.
Yeah. Can you how can you not put him in? Seriously.
And he's another guy, like, as long as he's getting a job, why would you put yourself in Fred McGriff's shoes and not get 500? Like, because if he stays where he's at, he's gonna be looked at like 460, 2,000 hits, man. He gets to 500. How do you keep him out? So he should play until they tear the jersey off of him as much as he can. Just sit there and DH and just hit and get to 500, and then you can't really argue it. So
how about the Phillies? I'm still trying to figure out why in the world they let Girardi go.
Yeah, they were just kind of in a nosedive. You know, Girardi, man, he's a little bit hard to get along with. That's really why the Yankees got rid of him. From my understanding, young players just don't like him. He's just crusty and
old school.
Yeah, old school. I was glad to see Rob Thompson get a chance too. He's been around forever.
And what's up with the Marlins' ugly uniforms?
I can't figure them out. I don't even know what colors they are.
Inspired by Donnie Baseball, they're going to make a run for it. Donnie Baseball needs to let them sit there and watch them. Just kidding.
The Marlins were a little bit my pick to click. That's just hadn't happened.
It had, man. I love Donnie Baseball, though. I wish him well. He was a great manager for the Dodgers too. Moving over to the Marlins, wish him nothing but the best. He's a great guy as well.
Yep.
So Dean, in closing, man, just kind of wanted to talk a little bit about your childhood growing up a Braves fan.
Yeah.
Talk about some of the guys that you loved growing up and how all that happened with your fandom.
I tell you what, I grew up in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, just about an hour down the road where I'm at now. And growing up, the only two teams on television, TBS had the Braves all through the 80s and 90s, and WGN had the Cubs. Now, Cubs didn't start night games to 88, 89, something like that. And so the Cubs were always afternoon games. So they were playing the afternoons. I'd watch them, and I watched the Braves and my grandparents. I stayed at my grandparents' house a lot, watched it with my grandma and grandpa, they were avid Braves fans. So I grew up watching Dale Murphy. My favorite player as a kid was Ryan Sandberg.
Oh, wow.
I loved Ryan Sandberg. I loved watching.
Yes.
Yeah, I loved Ryan Sandberg. He was one of my favorite players. But then as I got older, our youth group went to a lot of Braves games. That was the thing. Because back, man, they had the best rotation in the 90s. Never will have a rotation that good ever again, with Maddox and Smoltz and Glavine. And but my favorite player as a teenager was Chipper Jones. I love me some Chipper Jones. Guy could play. Then as they were aging, things are going downhill, things like that. I moved to West Virginia for a little bit, the pastor up there, assistant pastor, and because I was on staff with a bunch of people who were Yankees fans, I thought I'd just kind of go to the dark side a little bit, just mess with them. But they had some good teams in, and Johnny Damon was one of my favorite players. I like to watch Johnny Damon play. He looked like Jesus. I'm just
Yeah.
a little bit. Anyway, I like watching him play. And but I'll tell you right now, I used to go back home, see my grandpa. So he goes, "You still like the Braves?" And I was still watching the Braves play up in West Virginia too, because I had that MLB package. But I'll tell you this, my grandpa's been dead for 4 years. Every time I watch the Braves play, I feel like he's in the room with me. That was kind of our thing. We watched the Braves play all the time. He would call me every Sunday night, see how my service went, and we talk Braves baseball. We either talk basketball here in North Carolina, or we'll talk Braves baseball all the time. I hate it that I told him right before he died, there's a good team coming up. They're getting ready to be playing good in the minors. And I said, I hate he died before he could see him win the World Series. I almost went and got a pin and put on his grave. Anyway, but what I'm saying is, growing up, I loved baseball. My heart was in baseball, but I stunk at it. I could not play it to save my life. I was built a basketball player. I played basketball my whole life. My dad coached baseball a little bit. My brother played baseball. I helped them warm the teams up. I taught weight training. Always worked the baseball team out. Heck, at Tennessee Temple, man, like the baseball teams in my dorm room when I roomed with Rulapal for a little bit. So
Yep.
and I went to y'all's games all the time. You know, my heart is like, you want to play baseball, but your heart's in it, but I'm not good at it. I'm just not good. But I'm a good fan. I'll tell you that. I just enjoy the game, the strategy. It's a lot. I'll tell you this, the game of baseball has a lot of human error in it, which makes it a lot about life. It's a good game about life. You know what I mean? So it's good stuff. I just that's kind of how my childhood was, watching baseball like that. And national televised is what, ESPN Sunday night, but really it was the Cubs in the afternoon, the Braves at night. So you pretty much grow up watching those teams. But I'd say my favorite players were Ryan Sandberg, Chipper Jones. I like Johnny Damon a lot too. I used to like to watch him play, but it's pretty good. Harry Carey, my favorite broadcaster.
You saw the hologram the other day and you freaked you out.
Scared everybody away. Yeah.
I was like, my kids were watching it with my kids and my wife, and we're sitting there going, it's like, it's Harry Carey back from the
I love what you said about your pops, man. My grandpas both had a big influence in the baseball in my life as well. And like you said, man, my grandmother passed away, huge Cubs fan, right before they won the World Series. And it's one of the things that you wish, obviously, that they could have seen before they passed away. Mm-hmm. No doubt about it, especially for the Cubs, since not even my grandparents saw them win one or anything like that. So it's just amazing how grandparents have such an influence in the lives of who we are today. So thanks for sharing that, man, for sure. And then I got to ask you in closing here. So what was it like last year, man, to finally get that World Series title? For the first time since you were a teenager, you've seen the Braves on top of the world, man.
I'm glad I was back in North Carolina to see it. You know what I'm talking about? Because I went from pastoring a church with all Cincinnati Reds fans up in West Virginia. And then I leave there and I come here and everybody in church are Braves fans again. And it's pretty cool. Like I said, I did not think it could happen. I mean, literally the odds were stacked against them. The media was stacked against them. Everything was stacked against them, and it was so cool to see them win it all. I was the game they won the World Series. I'm in a Deacons meeting, and we couldn't even get the Deacons meeting. We're all watching the game on our phones, right? And we're trying to have a Deacons meeting. We're going, yes. Great. But yeah, it was really good. It was cool. And you know what? Brian Snicker, man, his life they could make a movie on his life. You know what I mean? His life story. If you read the Sports Illustrated did a story on his life last summer. And I'm like so glad he got himself a World Series ring just because of the sacrifices he made. And, you know, he made it all the way to the majors as a base coach, went back to the minors, but stayed in the Braves organization. All the influence he had with the 90s Braves. And, you know, I just think it was really cool to see him get the World Series win. You know, I really thought.
Super cool.
Yeah, cool, man.
He is a player's manager. He really is.
Yep.
Don't tell Josh Hill that though, right? Me and DJ like to laugh about that. He's fired him like 12 times.
Well, Dean, man, it's been awesome, man. That you've played. It's good to keep in contact with you through Facebook and fantasy baseball too, man. And watching everything you're doing as a pastor and everything too, which is really cool. You're a good friend at Tennessee Temple, like you were saying before. You did go to a lot of our games and watch us, which I know we appreciate. We didn't always have a great amount of fans all the time, so it was awesome of you to do that for us. And
that was the least I could do. Y'all packed my dorm room all the
time. Yes, sir. And thank you so much for coming on tonight, man. I was glad you were able to make this work for us and talk some baseball. And we had a lot of topics tonight, so check out our YouTube page and go ahead and like that and subscribe to us as well. David, we'll be back here next week at some point. We'll see what we got going on for guests or anything like that. So it's been real, guys. Thanks again for coming on, and everybody have a great night.
Thanks for inviting me.
See you guys.
See you.